Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of The Xone, where tonight I had the pleasure to speak with Geoff Silver of Alcindor and Shred Booking and Promotions. We spoke about his band's latest single release, Walking in the Footsteps of Giants, which was recorded at Greyskull Studios, where Alcindor will be planning to release more material in the future. And we also spoke about how Richmond's heavy music scene has evolved over the past 20 years. Be sure to catch Alcindor on October 26th for their Halloween Face Melter, co-headlining with Slaghead and Diseased Earth, as well as on October 30th with Elysian at Canal Club. And finally on March 28th for the first annual Rocking for Recovery. Stay tuned and enjoy. You guys released Walking in the Footsteps of Giants on August 14th. How has the response been to you guys' release, and what was your experience like working with Greyskull Studios?
Well, Grayskull Studios is a pretty good little studio. We are actually really good friends with Kyle Atkins, who runs it, and he was actually in the band with us for a very shortened period of time. So, I mean, we've been pretty familiar with him, and it's a pretty cool experience. As far as the response goes, it looks like it went pretty well. We got a lot of recognition and got some good show offers after we recorded and released it, so
Awesome.
I'd say it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And, like, you know, we had the pleasure of playing with you guys over at Another Round Bar and Grill, and I can't thank you guys enough for, like, inviting us out to play with you. From seeing you guys and from playing down at Autopsy Affairs, Morgue and Hampton, I noticed you guys have, like, a really diverse and, like, eclectic music style that kind of, like, draws influence from, like, doom metal, metalcore, death metal. As far as you, Tim, and Greg, like, who's bringing what to the table as far as, like, influences are concerned?
Well, we all come from different musical backgrounds. We all just like different stuff, it seems like. I'm more into a little bit of really everything. I like more of the deathcore style, a lot of breakdowns and heaviness, kind of like, say, like, old Job for a Cowboy, All Shall Perish, old Silent, stuff like that. Tim's all over the place. I know his biggest influence is probably Peter Steele.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was trolling your guys' Facebook page, like Danzig, Peter Steele, Typo Negative.
Yep. Yep, and Greg's all over the place. He likes a lot of old school. One of his favorite influences is probably like Obscura and Beyond Creation, who we just actually played a show with, actually.
Oh, yeah?
This past Sunday.
Damn.
Yeah, we have to open up for Beyond Creation and Archaic and Fallujah. So it's a pretty cool time.
Yeah, back on the 13th?
Yep.
All right, so I was tripped out because I was going back through your guys' events. I didn't see that Beyond Creation was billed on that show. I'm, like, tripped out that they weren't, like... Were they... They weren't billed as co-headliners?
Yeah, they're a headliner.
Whoa, that's crazy. How did you guys enjoy playing that show?
Oh, it was amazing. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Canal Club, right?
Oh, yeah.
Nice. All right. And as far as future events coming up, you guys have a show on October 26th at the Riff House Pub with Slaghead and Diseased Earth. And March 28th at Another Round Bar and Grill for the benefit.
Y'all plan it too.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember what the name of the benefit is. I gotta look it up.
Recovery for something.
Yeah. Feel terrible now. There's a bunch of bands built on that show, though. It's us, you guys, Pen My Legacy, Spiral Fracture, Seasons, Bridges Will Burn, Out of Insanity, Gutterance, Wolf Legion, Murder Some.
Yeah.
Have you guys played with Seasons or Spiral Fracture, any of those bands before, besides us?
Not in this band, but all of us have definitely played with Spiral Fracture and other bands we've been in. Seasons, I'm trying to think. No, we have not played with Seasons yet.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, we haven't played with Seasons yet. So this will be our first show with Seasons.
Awesome.
But we definitely played with Spiral Fracture, and I'm trying to think of any other bands we play with you guys, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's probably about all we played with in this whole lineup. So it'll be a cool little experience.
Yeah, and that's going to be I feel like that's going to be a long show. I got to look and see how the bands are built and who's opening and who's closing, but that's still a few good months out, so I feel like we'll work out the details, and I feel like things are going to change in between now and then, so.
I'm sure.
All right.
We also just got announced to open up for Elysian and Fury on October 30th as well at Canal Club.
October. Have you guys posted that on your guys' Facebook page?
I probably am really bad at that.
You said October
I have not
30th?
posted that. Yeah. I know I've probably posted the event, like, in a status, but I know I have not probably posted it actually in our events yet.
All right. And is that going to be a Canal Club as well, or?
Yeah, Alcindor. But I had a big part with the Richmond Metal community, trying to grow it again, because it's been very small over the years. Not what it used to be at all. But I was booking a bunch of underground touring bands and having as many local Richmonders as I can open and promote it. And definitely, once I got into the Alcindor stuff, we've been playing for a while now. Once we start playing shows, especially at another round bar, it's been bringing the scene back and drawing a lot more people out. I know Brian Fisher's a big part of it from Spinal Fracture, bringing a lot more of the metal bands out there and building the scene back up. So, and I'm doing my same thing as he is, trying to do as much stuff. Like, we booked that show on August, whatever the date was. I think it was August 12th, if I remember correctly. So that was all me booking that one, and we had a pretty good, successful turnout, I feel. So, yeah.
The Virginia metal community, I noticed there are always posts about these the Richmond metal town hall meetings that you guys have. I'm not sure if you participate in those or not. Can you speak to the type of subject that you guys are like bringing up at those meetings, as far as coordinating shows with bands or anything like that? Or
I have unfortunately not been to any of those meetings due to work and stuff like that. So fortunately, I can't really say anything on that one.
Yeah.
But I do want to go to some of those meetings and see what they have to say, because I'm all about the Richmond metal scene and bringing it back to life. So
yeah,
I need to stop slacking and go to those.
Yeah, I can't say anything. I haven't been to those. I've seen them talked about as far as in a lot of these forums and things like that. I didn't know that the Richmond scene was like this organized. I didn't know that there were town hall meetings and.
Yeah, I have to give props to Brian Fisher from Spinal Fracture for that one, though, because he's the one that started all that. So props to him.
Awesome. And as far as what are you like currently digging on as far as inside the Richmond scene or even outside of it, music related, non-music related, that's kind of like helping or inspiring you with Alcindor's material?
That's a good question, really. It's kind of all over the place between all three of us, really. Not even really sure how I would answer that. I know a big influence recently has been fretless basses and stuff like that, 7-string guitars and Beyond Creations, bass solo styles. I brought a big influence to some tables on the writing process here lately. But yeah, that's really a tough question, honestly. Not really sure.
I feel like your guys' music is like it really does draw influence from a lot of different places. And that's something that I feel like is kind of like integral to like a band's creative process, instead of it being like very generic or coming from a place that's very similar to a lot of other bands. I feel like that's something that kind of helps put variety in the scene, which, I mean, I can speak from personal experience, like seeing a lot of these bands. I feel like everyone kind of has something unique to offer. As far as shout outs to any bands within the Richmond, Hampton Roads, DC area, like that are kind of up and coming or that have been in the scene a while, are there any bands in particular that you've always kind of like admired from afar, or even know personally that you've always just admired their writing or performance aspects?
There's a ton, really, honestly. A lot of bands have broken up over the years. Because bands just come and go and then built another band, really. So to me, like, most of the bands I'm really digging right now are all new bands. Like, your band, Side of Suffering, I think is pretty badass and amazing. And I was actually part of that for a short period of time before it was Side of Suffering, too, with Jesse. So
you jammed with Jesse?
Yeah. We actually started that whole thing.
Really?
I know the last song y'all said, I was writing that with Jesse a long-ass time ago on drums.
Damn.
How long? It wasn't Side of Suffering. It was. I don't think we had a name.
How long ago was this?
Shit. I would probably say like 2 years ago, about.
Damn. Yeah, I feel like this is something that the Haleys or even Jesse, I feel like Jesse's been working on this project for trying to put this into like fruition for a while, because I know he was with Saint Diablo.
Yeah, I remember years ago I was jamming with Matt and Jesse. I only did like 2 practices, but I was doing vocals a long time ago with those two, and then that kind of vanished out of nowhere. And Jesse was all like, "Hey man, I got an electric drum set. Come jam with me sometime." And next thing I know, we started building a band. So.
Damn. Yeah, and I feel like the scene is kind of like really close. I feel like it's kind of like a little like incestuous, like a lot of like scenes are, like where bands go through these revolving lineups and then other people leave and start new bands and they keep crossing paths. Like Spiral Fracture, Sight of Suffering, all these other bands, like before Alcindor existed, were there other bands that you were involved in as well?
Oh, there's a handful. Before I was in Alcindor, we were actually another band, same 3 of us with a vocalist, called The American Dream. We played like 4 shows, and then we lost our vocalist and turned into Alcindor. Before that, I was doing vocals in a handful of bands. I was in a band called Abandoned Earth, played technical death metal. I did vocals in that one. Before that, I think I was in a band called Arcadia Awaits, which another big name for Richmond was, those guys are all from Hail Locust with Randy Blythe. And before that, I was drumming in a band called Seraph, who's still around today for about 4 years. So there's a ton of bands. I've always been playing music since I was about 14 years old. Been playing shows since I was 18. And I'm 36, so.
And as far as like unsung heroes, as far as like bands that have kind of like outgrown the Richmond, Virginia scene, a lot of people would credit like Lamb of God, but people wouldn't necessarily know that like Pig Destroyer or Guar or even Byzantine hail from this area of like Richmond, Virginia. Are there any bands from back in the day that like you like necessarily like want to represent or like want to give credit to that kind of have fallen by the wayside?
I'd definitely say Byzantine for sure, handful. I used to always remember going to Alley Cats back in the day to go see Byzantine literally once a month. And they were always a heavily influenced. I had no clue that they were even like a signed touring band. So when I remember going to Circuit City, everybody remembers that store back in the day.
Oh, shit,
and I happened to see their CD for I saw their CD. I was like, wait, what the fuck? I've literally seen these guys like all the time. I had no clue that they were even that successful.
Yeah.
And since that day, like, I've always loved the band Byzantine. I remember when I was in the band Arcadia Waits, since those guys had connections from the Hail Locust days touring with Byzantine, I got to bring Byzantine from West Virginia down to the Canal Club for a show. And they had not played any shows at that point in time for years, let alone came to Richmond at all. So it was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And I got to also meet them then. I mean, I've met them before, but back then it was just a totally different experience. I was just a nobody. Didn't really play any shows in the metal scene yet, so... But it was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I really look up to those guys. They put on an amazing show. If anybody's never seen them live, definitely need to do that.
And I just discovered them recently because of the Haleys. I'm a big Chimera fan, and they were recommending that. They were recommending that I check out Byzantine.
Oh yeah. Jesse was actually in Arcadia Waits with me at the time when I booked Byzantine. So I know he's heavily influenced in them as well.
Yeah, he's a huge fan because he was tripping out. I had never heard them, and he was like, "You need to listen to this." So on the drive from down here in Hampton Roads all the way up there and back, I would listen to them, and they draw influences from a lot of different places too. And they listening to their music, I was like, wow, just tripped out because some of their early releases, I can't remember what the name of the release are off the top of my head, but I feel like they were like a little ahead of their time. They're signed, I believe they're on Metal Blade, but I am just tripped out that I'd never heard of them before.
Yeah, they're very like, well, so recently now they're on Metal Blades, which is a really good deal for them. Mm-hmm. They were on Prosthetic Records for years, and then when they stopped playing, I want to say it's probably like 2005, 2006. They just kind of vanished, took a long hiatus. Because when I brought them to Canal Club, that when I was back in the day when I was in the band Arcadia Waits, they were just a regular unsigned band at that point. But of course they were known because, I mean, you know, all the years. But yeah, until they were Metal Blade, I think they signed a Metal Blade like 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago now. They were completely independent, doing everything on their own. I thought that was pretty awesome. So no, that's not cheap at all either.
Do you believe that bands have to have the support or backing of a label to be successful in this day and age?
Honestly, I've seen so many bands now get very successful by themselves now. I mean, it's always cool to have that label behind you because, I mean, money-wise and putting you on tour to where it's comfortable without you spending your money. Of course, it's always good, but honestly, nowadays, especially with DistroKid, I've seen a whole lot of bands just doing it on their own and being way more successful than they would be on a label because they actually, at that point, they're on their own rules, and there's nobody bossing, saying you have to do this way, which honestly sucks. So I've seen lots of bands get signed that were amazing, and then next thing you know, they have to do what the label wants, and it's not as good. So won't name drop any bands in the past, but there's I've heard some bands from Richmond that had to do that. So,
are there any bands? Because I know we're talking about Byzantine and you, kind of being a big motivating factor for them to come down and play shows at the Canal Club again. Are there any bands that you would like to go on tour with, or would like to kind of bring into the area?
I'd like to bring all the bands in the area. Make Richmond as big as possible, really. As far as touring, I'm open to tour with anybody, really, honestly. As far as big bands go, we don't really fit very well with anybody, so I think it would be awesome to really tour with any of the big bands, honestly, because, I mean, being so diverse as Alcindor is, like, we could literally tour with everybody. Because we don't have a specific style. I think probably the most band we just played with recently that we fit with the most is probably Beyond Creation, though. I won't say that. So,
and I feel like this is something I would like to see more is people paying to go see live music. I feel like it's becoming more of a valuable commodity instead of just actually purchasing CDs. I feel like that's kind of fallen by the wayside. But going to a show and seeing bands that are from totally different genres, all on the same bill. I mean, speaking personally, I was at the Broadberry last year. Deafheaven was headlining, and they brought Drab Majesty out. I guess they would be considered like new wave, like Resurgence, and it's like 80s worship, Sisters of Mercy sound. And they opened up for Deafheaven, who were like completely like totally black metal influenced. Would you say were there any non-metal bands that you would want to kind of brush shoulders with or play a show with?
I'm actually working right now all local, but because we're so different in the scene, like, I'm working right now on something. Don't have a date yet, but I've talked to the bands for sure about booking a show with the local bands. JJ Speaks, who's literally just an instrumental, I guess you would say jazz. Pretty fucking awesome dudes. All three of those guys are also big old metalheads, which I think is awesome that they're doing something completely different. I was actually in a band in Earth with their drummer, Jeff Anderson. And I was also in a band for a very, very small period of time called Make Like Murder with Dustin Cole from that band. So I think it's cool as hell to play with them because just like us, there's really no bands like that in Richmond as well. So they kind of just play with anybody as well, and it's always an amazing time when they play. And I'm also going to be booking, hopefully, on that show, what is her name? I can't think of the name at the moment. But yeah, they're also just more of a southern rock, but kind of metal, kind of like Down, I would say, and a little bit on the Pantera side. So I think it'd be a pretty cool little mix. Then Alcindor, of course. So.
And that I believe that's like definitely something that people want to see more often than not is seeing a diverse lineup of bands. Because it gives you the opportunity to hear something that you probably wouldn't necessarily get to hear.
And back in the day, I used to always do that. I used to always book very different bands on shows. That way it's not all the same exact sounding band. Because it brings more of a taste to it. You're not watching the same thing through the whole entire night, So I think it's always a really cool experience. And it gives people more of something to listen to. Plus also brings different fans out. And then they experience something different too. So it all ends up working out at the end. Because
that was the coolest experience too when I went and saw Drab Majesty and Deafheaven. It was it was the weirdest demographic of people that were there. You had like people that were there because of heavy music. Then you had other people that were there that would have never listened to any of these bands that were there with Deafheaven. And it was just cool kind of being out of your element and brushing shoulders and being able to network with these people that are outside of your community. So would you say that's kind of like a priority of yours with shred booking to kind of like reach outside of the scene and brush shoulders and network with people that are kind of like not necessarily in the same demographic as Alcindor or any of the other bands that are like waving the metal flag?
I'd say so. Because I'm down to book anybody, and I'll put whatever show together. It doesn't have to be just a strictly metal show, just a music show, really.
And as far on the booking side of things or working with promoters, if you could pass on information to people that are just starting bands or getting involved in the music scene, what are some do's and don'ts or just general information that you could pass on to people that are just starting out?
The big thing is don't stress it. I know a lot of venues and a lot of promoters are all about the whole ticket sales, and and a lot of bands get overwhelmed and stressed, especially at the beginning, because you got to go out there and promote, which you do got to go out and promote, but just have fun with it and relax and just have a blast. Don't put so much stress into it, and don't worry about a promoter pressuring you into doing all these ticket sales. Just do what you can and call it a day, really. But there's definitely some good promoters out there besides myself. But yeah, definitely a good promoter to start with would probably be anything with another round bar and grill, especially in Richmond. It's a very chill and relaxed venue, so. And Canalpo's another one too. Aspire Presents, which is Mark, is always looking for locals for his shows as well too.
At Canal Club?
Yes.
Awesome. And back to Alcindor, do you guys have any plans, or are you guys anticipating anything for any upcoming releases that you guys would like to share with any fans or potential fans?
Right now, after the October 30th show, we're definitely going to take a small hiatus from shows to write some more music, of course, because definitely always got to write some more music. And we need to go to the studio. So far, we've only released the one song now, and that was just a little single to get something out there. But we're going to go in the studio and record a little EP, record all the songs we have at the moment as far as writing more stuff. And we're going to be writing the next EP as well on this little break we're taking. So we'll probably start playing shows back in maybe January, but definitely February, March, we're going to start hitting more shows again.
And this is... or actually, do you guys plan on working at Greyskull Studios again, or are you guys prospecting in other places?
Yep. We'll be going back to Greyskull for sure. Greyskull is definitely a very good studio, a very good price and everything for any bands looking for studio time.
Do you think we're kind of transitioning away from an album format? Do you think that we're going to see the day where bands are going to go back to where it was like the 1920s, where everyone's going to be releasing singles, just a bunch of singles? Or do you think that the album format's never going to really go away?
That's a really good question, honestly, because I've even seen big bands just constantly releasing singles here and there nowadays, too, not even just locals. So, I don't know. That's a good question, really. I know for us, we're probably going to do singles for a little bit. We will probably put it as an EP eventually, but more than likely, we're probably going to do singles here and there until we're ready to release the whole EP. But yeah, I mean, as far as locals go, I feel like singles and then maybe an EP down the road is always the way to go. Definitely, I don't really recommend as a local band to pull it out a full album. I mean, I've done it before, don't get me wrong. Definitely put little 10-song CDs out there, but I feel like as a local, people more are looking to listen to like about 5 or 6 songs on a CD.
Yeah.
As far as big bands go, though, I have noticed a lot of big bands, though, now that are just putting singles out. So it's definitely weird. Definitely different, so things are definitely changing over the years for sure, especially in the music scene. So
yeah, I feel like people are trying to make things more accessible to new listeners, or trying to appeal more to like different demographics, and I feel like singles are the way to go. I don't know. I just feel like I've seen this coming for like the past few years. It just feels like we're transitioning away from album formats.
And I dig the singles because it gets you hyped for what's coming next.
Yeah.
You know, it makes you really like crave that band. Like, I can't wait to see what Side of Suffering or Alcindor's got coming next. You know.
Yeah, it keeps people's interest peaked too. It's definitely awesome.
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily have to have continuity. Like with an album, I feel like there has to be continuity on an album. If there's not, if it's kind of all over the place, it doesn't really sound well thought out or planned. With singles, you don't really have to worry about that. You can have different, narratives and different styles and.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, October 26th, Halloween Face Melter at Riff House Pub with Slaghead, Diseased Earth. Have you ever played with them before, or is this your first time playing with them?
We played with Diseased Earth a few months ago, and Greg and Tim's other band, Cut the Arctic Sand, plays with them a lot. But they're really cool guys. Have a really cool little sound to them, just like southern blackened metal. It's pretty fucking awesome, honestly.
And October 30th, I'm going to butcher this band's name, Elysian at Canal Club.
Yes.
Awesome. And March 28th at Another Round Barn Grill for the addiction benefit. I got to look that up. I feel so terrible.
That's what it was, yep.
All right. Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate your time, Geoff.
Oh, yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Take it easy.